So I just got through discussing my TBR and cataloging my TBR and making little mini books for my TBR, which means it's time to start a reading vlog where I actually read my TBR. So in this vlog, we're gonna let this little jar of books decide what I'm gonna read. Some of these are different sizes and different feels, so there's a couple that I know what they are, so I'm going to do my best to throw a book into my hand gently so that it's completely random. The only books that I don't have in here are my Christmas books because it is July. We don't need to be reading Christmas books. So, just gonna shake this up really good. Just spin this, and we're gonna... So I picked out a volume of Kimi ni Todoke, so I will be reading the next volume in this series. I only put one of them in the jar, by the way, so it is completely random that I'm getting that as a choice. So I'm going to be reading volume 13 of Kimi no Todoke, and I'm just going to pick one more book so that we can get a big book on here. And it looks like my choice is going to be City of Brass. So here is what we're going to start the reading vlog with. We're just going to keep going, maybe like 3-4 books. Yeah, here's what we're going to start reading. I'm very excited, and hopefully this challenge can get my TBR books down. So it's the 8th of July now, so getting started on this vlog has not happened. I have started The City of Brass, 50 pages into it now. I don't really consider myself read a book until I've read about 50 pages, and that's normally when I start to update and write stuff about it. I'm putting it on pause, even though this vlog is supposed to be my jar picks what I read. The other factor is that my library is also having to pick what I read, because when I get a library hold in, I gotta read it when it comes in. I mean, I defer a lot, but the library hold that came in, I do want to read now, and that is going to be Equal Rights by Terry Pratchett. So I've already listened to 100 pages of this, and so I figured today I'm just going to read this while I work on my Terry Pratchett puzzle, because I have a Terry Pratchett puzzle. Normally this would be my on walks read, but I have a couple life updates. The first one being I sprained my ankle. Today is Tuesday, so last Monday I sprained my ankle, and it's getting better. I can walk on it, but it does hurt, and it's pretty swollen and bruised still, so I'm not taking my hour-long walks in the morning, so I need a way to read this. I need another outlet, so it's going to be puzzle time. The other big thing is that yesterday I had to put my dog down, and it was 17 and a half, but it was just kind of sudden that he just went downhill very quickly, and so I kind of need a distraction from that because I don't want to think about it that much, and I've been distracting myself with doom scrolling on TikTok, which is not great because the world is in shambles. Again, we're going back to the Terry Pratchett puzzle thing because that'll be a good distraction from everything, and I can just focus on this fun story and I can do my fun puzzle. But Terry Pratchett, almost halfway through this. This is one of the first novels he written. I believe it's his 3rd or 4th novel. And the thing about this is that it's the first introduction to the witches, but it's not really canon anymore in the universe. Are seeing Grandma Weatherwax, but it's not the iteration that we will see in the rest of the series. It's kind of like a prototype, and things change between this book and Weird Sisters when we get the rest of the coven. But in this book, Grandma Weatherwax has taken on an apprentice of a young girl who is supposed to be a wizard. She's supposed to be a female wizard, which is not a thing in this world. And Grandmother Weatherwax has taken her on as an apprentice to be a witch instead, and is realizing this is not gonna work. I just have to take her to the magic school. And Esk, our main character, is just getting into all sorts of trouble, very headstrong. I'm so sad that this isn't really a part of the canon because one, I think the idea of exploring this wizard witch situation with gender stereotypes is actually really clever and really interesting. And I feel like if this was written now, or if Terry Pratchett had revisited this idea when he was alive, it would be just such an interesting concept. And also, I just love the idea of Grandma Weatherwax having an apprentice. And she might take on an apprentice in other books in the series, but I really do love her having a younger companion. So it's weird to read this because it's I already know how things have changed and how things evolved as Terry Pratchett started to write more in the Discworld and started to grasp what he wanted to do with it. But there are things I like about this. There's also things that didn't age super well. The G slur is used and just some other things, early 80s, but it's still enjoyable. It's still worth a read. So yeah, there's things I like about this, things I don't love about it, but it is enjoyable. And one of the things I can't get over is just the writing. The writing is so good. I'm sorry, just TikTokification of writing. I don't know. Just a lot of books just don't have great writing anymore. Don't get the time and development and editing to have good writing. And Terry Pratchett was just naturally just a really excellent author. Just really had a way with words. So I'm really enjoying it, at least for that aspect. So let's go start on the puzzle and start on the audiobook. this. I pretty much was working on the edges, just trying to find that, and I have the whole edge piece done. But besides that, I'm literally like just holding a box of the pieces and just like rummaging around trying to find ones that I want. That obviously is like the worst way that you can possibly, well, not the worst way, but like the slowest way that you could possibly do a puzzle. I worked on it for about 2 hours and I have a pile of faces and not much else. So I'm pretty much done for tonight with the puzzle at least. And I finished my audiobook just a couple minutes ago. It was a pretty quick ending. I felt like it could have been explored a little bit more, but I guess like, you know, this was kind of like a retconned book. You know, it's fine, I guess. But I really enjoyed it. I really like Esk. I liked Grandma Weatherwax in this story, even though she's not quite Grandma Weatherwax. And I liked a lot of the side characters, and I liked being in the Unseen University. You know, I'd be interested in like having a story with Esk there. But since we won't get that, I think the next best thing is probably go back and read one of the Tiffany Archer books, which is the children's series that is a part of the Discworld, where there is a young female protagonist. I feel like I need to read another Night Watch book, probably read a couple of the Wizard books, read a Tiffany Archer book, read more, and that way I can like read the rest of the Witches series. Reading books I want to in the order I want to, kind of haphazardly, but I did enjoy this one a lot still. It was just really fun. I just really like Terry Pratchett's writing, so it's just hard not to like it, even if it's like not the most perfect book in the world or whatever. But yeah, I'm glad I finished it. It was pretty quick. You know, I read 60% of the book today, just audiobook. That's about 4.5 hours I think I read today. Obviously on 1.5 times speed, which is why I read it so quickly. But yeah, it was just a cute, short, breezy book in the series. So I'm gonna stop puzzling for today. I don't know if we're gonna do any more reading tonight, but I will check back in when we get back to the book jar, because so far I started City of Brass. It's in Cairo under French occupation, so I'm not sure what time period that is, if it's like 17th century, 18th century, or maybe even later, I don't know. But we have this young woman, I would say probably in her early 20s, called Ari, I believe her name is. I have to look at it again. She has inexplicable powers that she doesn't really understand. She's kind of an outcast in her society. There is magic, there is like God stuff, but it's really not supposed to be done. And she's been kind of warned by it, her one friend, her older neighbor that she kind of helps in an apothecary shop, like, you know, you're really getting into business that you shouldn't be. And she's like, well, there really isn't anything to it. You know, I've never had a problem doing any of the things. Even though she can do these weird abilities, she doesn't really believe in the gods or magic. She gets in over her head in a situation and brings down powers that summon a being. We don't know who this being is yet, other than them being not a Djinn. They're called a Davi, a Deve. I have to look at it again. I'm not looking at the book, but it's like a more royal version of a Djinn, like a more higher being than that, but like related. And so she's getting into that world, and that's kind of the setup for the series. First 50 pages, it has everything that I loved about the first book that I read by Shannon Chakraborty. It just has attention to detail, to scene setup, characters that play into archetypes but are fleshed out, are interesting. We're setting off with a very usual premise of like an otherworldly being that could be a love interest, but like obviously like very powerful old demigod or godlike creature, and then like the female protagonist being a young girl who doesn't really know the magic she wields. Because of the specificity, because of just the way that she lays out her worlds and her characters, they do feel very unique and just very different than anything else you kind of get with like a similar premise. And obviously it's a non-Western setting with non-Western characters, so that just gives it a little bit of a different edge than a lot of other stories as well. But so far, I'm really enjoying it, 50 pages in, but I'm trying to read it physically because I'm trying to fix my attention span issues. So I will get back to you when I get into that. And then Kimi ni Todoroke volume 13, maybe I'll start that. Just kind of give myself a little breather and then get back into City of Brass. So it's the next day and I probably read like 10 pages of this today. Just not feeling super productive today, but I need to ice my foot, so this is the next thing I'm gonna do while I ice my foot. But more importantly, I thought I'd show you what I've completed with my puzzle so far. So I got a lot more done today. Basically, yesterday I just kind of sorted all the face pieces I could find. There's more, but I sorted a lot of the face pieces out, and so today was just like putting them in their place, and then things were just coming together very naturally. So, you know, for like 2 hours of puzzling, like this is okay. It's a very fun puzzle. It's so intricate and so detailed, which makes it like pretty easy when you find a piece to like snap it in place. But it's like not easy to memorize for me. So a lot of times I'm very quick about puzzles because I can just like memorize the entire scene and then I just know where to put them. Whereas this, I'm like, I have to search for whose face I'm looking at and then like put it in. That is taking me a fair amount of time. But yeah, this will stop for right now and I'm gonna go work on the book and icing my foot. So it's a little before 10 and yeah, I was supposed to read my book and I ended up doing this. But now that it's done, I can go read my book and ice my foot. I don't know, I just sat down to put one piece in and then I was like, I'm gonna finish it. And I did. So yeah. So I think it's been a week since I've checked in. I have been reading my book just kind of off and on. It was just kind of a busy week last week. I think I talked about that. I don't want to talk about it again. But since I started the vlog, yes, I've read this book off and on and just kind of reading about 50 to 70 pages every time I picked up this book. I think I actually almost read 100 pages last night. And so I have, I think 100 pages. So getting to the end of this, but I do want to talk about this because I think it's really interesting. From my recollection of this book, this is one of those books that people are like, you just have to read it. I don't want to spoil it by telling you what this book is about. And I find that fascinating because to me that always is like, oh, it's super twisty and turny, or it's something very unexpected. It does something very, very incomprehensible. But to me, this is like a very typical fantasy novel with very typical characters and tropes that you see a lot. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing in this case, but I wouldn't say it's like anything exceptionally different than anything else that I've seen in the fantasy sphere. It just does everything very, very well. We have Nari, who is the young protagonist who has these exceptional abilities, and then she meets this, and then she summons the being, and they have to escape from these demon ghoul-like beings. And so from there, we get more into those two characters as they're traveling across, trying to get to this Dijin city where all the magical people are. There are people that are like half-born, that are more human-like, and then there's like the pure bloods that are more Jin-like, that are like pure magic beings, live a lot longer, have strengths, have magical abilities, but their human counterparts sometimes can have magical abilities as well. So they're traveling to the city, and then we're also getting our second perspective, which is Ali, or Alizad, who is the second prince in this city. And so we're getting him getting wrapped up in kind of a rebellion and politics, and thank God this is actually one book that I really enjoyed, or am enjoying the rebellion, because it's not so straightforward, it's not so simple. So you have the human beings, I think they're the Shafit, or it's the Shafites, something like that. Those are like the human beings, and if they have magic, they have to live in this society, they have to live in the city, and they're kind of not in good standings. They don't have like a lot of rights, and they live in a lot of poverty. And then you have the Jinn, and there's like 6 tribes, and there's the Deve, who are, they consider themselves the most important tribe. They used to be the ruling tribe, and they come from what they think is like this more pure line. So Nahiri is connected to the Nahid, who used to be the ruling people, connected to the Deve tribe. And then there's Alizad's family, who came in and like took over from them. As you can tell, me trying to explain it, it's complicated. There's complicated politics, there's wrongdoing on both sides, there's inequality that has been faced by both people on both sides. And so I really like that, because it's, I wouldn't say it's like complex, but it's like not so straightforward and simple. They're both Alizad and Dara have these like assumptions of who these people are based on their tribe, and there's a lot of hatred between the different groups. None of these characters, at least like the main cast, Dara, Alizad, like none of them are great. They have a lot of prejudice that really impacts how they deal with different groups. And so at this point in the novel, we have finally gotten Nahiri into the city. She is staying with the king and becoming friends with Alizad, and those two POVs are finally intercrossing each other. And again, I'm just really enjoying it. It's a slower build story, preparing us for the next couple of novels, I would say, but it is really enjoyable. The only thing that I don't love is I felt like the relationship between Nahari and Dara was like pretty quick turnaround. Like I get why they are attracted to each other, but I don't know if I needed them to have an intimate scene, because they had a close intimate scene. I felt like that could have been stretched out a little bit more, because I do like them together, but I just felt like it was a little bit too quick of a turnaround. And then the other thing is because Dara has like, you know, the deep brooding past, and because we're getting all the politics stuff, I feel like Nari doesn't fall to the wayside, but we aren't getting as much of her, and I feel like she should be a little bit more of a fleshed out character because it is her perspective. So far I'm gonna say this is probably gonna end up being a 4-star for me. I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really good, very immersive, just really slow building, and I'm enjoying reading it at my own pace. But once we finish this, we're gonna go to the Kimi ni Todoke volume I picked, and then we can go back to the jar and hope that I pick something shorter, because that'll probably be the last novel of this vlog. So far, I'm glad the jar picked this. I'm really enjoying it, and this is exactly what I needed. Just like an immersive fantasy to get me out of this weird headspace. So yeah, I'm gonna continue reading, and I will see you to discuss the ending. So I finished The City of Brass a couple days ago. I was a little bit worried because in the last 100 pages, I was like, this needs to pick up. I'm starting to feel that feeling of getting slumpy, and it finally did. And along with that, like I was kind of having nitpicks about the world needing to be expanded, Nahiri needing to take more center stage as the main character, and those last 100 pages finally solved a lot of those issues that I had. It just did such a great job kind of anticipating what a reader might be curious about or might be nitpicking on, and then like going into detail about those things and like doing those things. So I really liked this. The ending was fantastic. This is punchy, but it's still character driven. I feel like a lot of people will think this is a pretty slow moving fantasy, but I feel like this was perfectly paced with the amount of buildup and everything that we get. So I'm really looking forward to the second book. I feel like this has a lot of common tropes that people in romantasy would enjoy, but it isn't the sole focus. Shannon Chakraborty is willing to have characters be very morally gray and complex and not necessarily redeem them, and I just think it's really good. It's really interesting. I will say, like, I like Nahiri, but Ali is my favorite character. I just find him so fascinating, and I'm really excited to see how he gets out of his situation that he was put in. So yes, a great success. And I put another mini book here. I got to cross out another book in my journal. But yes, I am also reading my Kimi ni Todoke volume. I read half of it last night, so I'm gonna finish the other half now. But I figured while we're at it, might as well grab our next pick and see what we're gonna read to finish out this vlog. The first book, oh my god. Yes. Okay, I got the Apothecary Diaries art book, which is something that I wanted to read this month. Yeah, let's get started on those books. So I just wanted to show, yeah, I got my buddy back, and so he's gonna sit up here on my TBR area normally for a little bit. But yeah, I have his old toy that came with him when we bought him, and obviously his ashes, and I have a little bit of fur in here as well. And then they also make a paw engraving for you when you get that. And I have a little old collar. I get a little sad when I see it, but also like the tactileness of having him and just getting to like, you know, see him. So I'm back to wrap up this vlog. I had the intention of like reading another book or picking another book for this, but I just got overwhelmed because I got a bunch of library picks at the same time. And then I'm also starting to get ready for my Goodreads video, and I'm reading all the books for that and just like working on a bunch of projects right now. So we're kind of at a good stopping point now. So let's just kind of wrap up what I ended up reading for this vlog. For manga, I ended up reading volume 13 of Kimi no Todoke. This is the beginning of where the new series on Netflix starts. So it's like meeting the parents, they're dating for the first time. It's so cute, so precious. If you like shoujo romance, but like you want the characters to feel fleshed out, you want them to have their own likes and dislikes, you don't mind a slower pace, this story is just fabulous for that. It's one of my favorite series. It's been one of my favorite series. So I enjoyed reading that volume. And then for my recent jar pick, I got the Apothecary Diaries light novel artist art book. I really enjoyed this. I really love seeing how much they've progressed. Not that the first images were bad, but they had more of a stiffer style. Their use of black and white images gets progressively amazing, like the two-tone, but also like their coloring I think gets a lot better. It's a little bit muddy in the beginning of their journey, but I just loved seeing that progress, and I love the light novel images, so it's nice to see them like up big, close, and shiny and beautiful. I wish there was like a little bit more interviews, a little bit more cross comparison between like the anime and like what the artist was trying to do and working with the author, but I get like this is her art book, so it's about her art, so that's just like me wanting more like a more general Apothecary Diaries art book, so I enjoyed that. And for what the library picked for me, I read Terry Pratchett's Equal Rights. Again, this is one of the first books he's written, so it's kind of outside of what the Discworld became, but I still really enjoyed it. I just love his writing, and just reading older books, I'm like, yeah, books used to be better edited. They used to be, I don't know, there just used to be a bigger focus on craft. I'm just really pulled towards books right now that are written before like 2015. Not that there aren't good books now, but I'm just having a lot less success finding them, especially in the sci-fi fantasy sphere. Even outside of that, Terry Pratchett was just unequal to many of the people around him, and just what he wrote is just, it's fun, it's playful, it's just so pointed and serious without ever taking itself too seriously. It's just really excellent satirical fantasy. And then for my last book, the big chunker, the thing that took me most of this vlog to read, that is going to be The City of Brass. And I really liked this. I didn't know what to expect because I feel like people are very vague about what it's about. And I would say that this harkens on a lot of the traditional fantasy, especially like this era of fantasy, adult fantasy. It's multiple perspectives. There's a lot of court politics and different strife between political groups. There's an outsider learning about a magic system coming into this world, realizing she has powers, a woman coming into her own powers, having a romance with a very powerful being. Just so expertly done. It feels so real and fleshed out and complicated and complex. Like, these characters are not always doing the best things. There's no one obvious tribe that was like the bad tribe necessarily. There's a lot of bad blood on all these different sides. I just really enjoyed this for what it was. It was what I've been looking for with fantasy, and I'm excited to read the rest of the series because I feel like it's just going to get even more interesting from here on out with how it deals with all these problems that have arisen. So pretty much 3 and 4 stars all around. Everything I read was really excellent, which is what you hope for in a reading vlog, especially when you're just trying to distract yourself for a moment. But yeah, next month is going to be focused away from the TBR jar, more focused in on getting stuff read for videos. I want to vlog more, but when I'm under pressure, I don't think it's the best for me to vlog. Doing those Goodreads videos does put me under a little bit of pressure, so I'm not going to put more pressure on me and vlog it. But hopefully I will be back with my TBR jar because I do have a lot to read still, and it would be nice to get these books read before the end of the year, so we will see. We might be back. But yeah, that's everything that I read for this reading vlog. Let me know what you've been reading, what you've been enjoying. I'll see you guys later, and happy reading.